Welcome, my dear friend, to tonight's special journey. My name is Jacob Miller, and I am your guide for this evening's adventure, a journey that will take you through winding paths and distant landscapes, carried by the soothing rhythm of train journeys. As we settle in together, I invite you to embrace this moment. Let go of the stresses of your day and allow your mind to wander freely through the windows of this story. There is something deeply captivating about trains, don't you think? It's not just the sound of the tracks clicking steadily beneath us, or the sense of moving through time and space. There's an undeniable magic in the way trains weave through landscapes, creating a constant flow of movement, yet offering a stillness that helps us connect more deeply with ourselves and the world around us. For me, trains have always held a special place in my heart. I've always felt a profound sense of peace when aboard one, watching the scenery change outside the window as I let the journey take me somewhere new, both physically and emotionally. In tonight's tale, I'll share with you some of my own experiences, stories of trains I have ridden, and the places they've carried me to. Along the way, we will also explore the beauty of traveling through not just landscapes, but through the mind and soul. Trains have a way of connecting us to distant memories, igniting reflections on our past, and offering new perspectives on our future. As we prepare to embark on this journey together, I want to tell you about a man named William Carter. He is in his mid-40s, and like many of us, life hasn't always gone according to plan. William has always found comfort in travel, especially by train, as it offers him a way to disconnect from the hectic pace of his daily routine and reconnect with the essence of who he is. Tonight, I invite you to join him on one of his most memorable journeys, one that will not only take him through the beautiful American countryside, but also lead him to a place of deep introspection and personal growth. Now, as we prepare to dive deeper into William's story, take a moment to settle in. Let your body relax into the softness of your bed or chair, and allow my voice to guide you. In this moment, nothing matters except the here and now, the train that awaits us, and the adventure that lies ahead. The train is ready, and so are you. Let's begin. Now that you are settled, it's time to let go and allow the weight of the day to melt away. Close your eyes, if you haven't already, and take a deep, slow breath. Feel the air fill your lungs, cool and refreshing, and then exhale gently, letting go of any tension that you may be holding. With each breath, allow your body to relax a little more. Imagine the gentle sway of the train as it begins its journey, rolling along the tracks. Feel the subtle rocking motion, as if the train is comforting you, lulling you into a state of calm. Let the steady rhythm of the train's wheels against the tracks become the beat of your own heart, steady and reassuring. Now, with every breath you take, feel yourself sinking deeper into relaxation. Start by bringing your awareness to your feet. Wiggle your toes, stretch them gently, and then release any tightness. Let your feet relax completely, grounded and calm. Move up to your ankles, your calves, and your knees. Feel the muscles in your legs soften as you exhale, releasing all the stress from your day. As you continue to breathe slowly, move your awareness to your hips, your lower back, and your abdomen. Feel the warmth of your body, the way it supports you in this moment. Let go of any lingering tension in your stomach and imagine it softening with every breath. Your body is safe and supported here, and you have nowhere to go but into this moment of peace. Now, bring your attention to your chest and shoulders. Let them drop away from your ears, feeling the weight of your day lifting with every exhale. Relax your arms, your elbows, your wrists, and your hands. Let them become soft and at ease. Finally, move up to your neck and face. Relax your jaw, your eyes, your forehead. Feel your whole body surrender to the warmth and comfort of relaxation, as if the very fabric of your being is being embraced by the train's steady rhythm. You are in a safe, peaceful place. You are on a journey, but not just through the world. This is a journey within yourself, where you can let go of everything that no longer serves you. Let the sound of the train and my voice be your guide, helping you drift deeper into this peaceful state. Now, as you continue to relax, know that there is no rush. You are exactly where you need to be. Feel the weight of your body sinking into the surface beneath you, supported by the earth, supported by the train. The world is passing by, but you are here, in this peaceful moment, ready for the journey ahead. It was one of those days in Ireland that seemed to carry the weight of memories. Gray skies, heavy clouds, and a steady drizzle that blurred the edges of the world. I stood at the train station, waiting, feeling that familiar blend of anticipation and comfort. The air smelled fresh, tinged with the earthy scent of rain-soaked fields and the ever-present hint of peat smoke drifting from distant chimneys. There was something about Ireland's rain that felt different, soothing, like a gentle balm for the soul. I had made this journey countless times before, but there was always something special about boarding a train in Ireland. It wasn't just about the destination. It was the journey itself, the rhythm of the train, the way it seemed to glide over the tracks, pulling you deeper into the heart of this beautiful country. The train, an old but reliable model, seemed to whisper stories of its own as it creaked and groaned against the weight of time, its metal frame worn from years of service but still standing strong. The platform was quiet, save for a few other passengers, bundled in coats and scarves, their breath visible in the crisp air. The rain fell in soft, persistent sheets, creating a soft, almost hypnotic sound as it hit the metal roof above us. I watched the droplets race down the window panes of the station building, each one carving its own path before being swallowed up by the next. The world outside was dim and muted, as though nature herself was pressing the pause button on everything, allowing you to just be in the moment. I boarded the train and found my seat by the window, settling into the familiar worn cushions that had cradled me on so many other journeys. There was a certain nostalgia in this place, a sense of belonging that I couldn't quite explain to anyone who hadn't grown up here. I looked out at the landscape as the train started to move, the soft hum of the engine beneath me adding to the soothing atmosphere. The wheels clacked against the tracks, and with every passing second, the train seemed to gather momentum, pulling me further into the Irish countryside. Ireland, I thought, was a land of contrasts. On one hand, it was timeless, with its ancient hills and rolling fields, where the green was so vibrant it almost seemed unnatural. On the other, it was always changing, shaped by the winds, the rain, and the lives of those who called it home. There was something incredibly peaceful about watching it unfold through the train window. The rain added a layer of mystery to the landscape, blurring the edges of the world just enough to make everything feel like a dream. The mist hung low over the hills, wrapping them in a soft, ethereal veil. Every tree, every stone, every field seemed like a secret waiting to be uncovered. As the train chugged forward, I found my thoughts drifting back to my childhood. Ireland had always been a place of adventure for me, a place where the boundaries between fantasy and reality seemed to blur. I thought of the countless hours spent running through fields with my siblings, the sound of our laughter mixing with the wind. The rain had always been a part of those memories, soft, persistent, washing over everything, making the world feel fresh and alive. There was something about being in Ireland, surrounded by its history, its landscapes, its people, that made you feel like part of something larger, something eternal. The train swerved slightly as it made its way through the winding roads, and I could feel the subtle sway of the car as it made its way through the countryside. The rhythmic motion of the train, coupled with the soft patter of the rain against the windows, made me feel as though time itself weathered by centuries of wind and rain, stood tall and proud. These walls, built by hand, had seen generations of farmers, travelers, and families pass by. I imagined the stories they could tell if they could speak, the hardships, the joys, the lives that had come and gone. It was a humbling thought to realize how many lives had been lived on this land, how many generations had shaped it, and how much of the past still lingered in the present. Ireland's history was written in the very soil beneath my feet, and as I looked out over the landscape, I could almost feel the weight of that history. The land had seen it all: wars, invasions, rebellions, and moments of triumph. But it had also seen the quiet lives of farmers, poets, artists, and dreamers who had found inspiration in the beauty of the land. The rain, the hills, the stones. They were all part of a larger story, a story that continued to unfold with each passing moment. The train journey itself felt like a bridge between the past and the present. Each mile we traveled seemed to pull me further into the Ireland of old, the Ireland of myths and legends. As I sat there, looking out at the rain-soaked fields, I couldn't help but think of the ancient Celtic stories that had been passed down through generations. The Irish people had a deep connection to their land, and that connection was reflected in their myths, their songs, and their way of life. The land was a living, breathing entity to them, and it was easy to understand why. The mist and rain created an atmosphere of mystery, as if the land itself was hiding its secrets, waiting for those willing to listen. I thought about the legends of the leprechauns and fairies, of the ancient gods and goddesses who were said to walk the earth in times long past. Ireland had always been a land of magic, of stories that blurred the lines between reality and imagination. The rain seemed to enhance that sense of magic, adding a layer of enchantment to the landscape. As the train moved on, I found myself thinking about my own connection to this land. I had grown up in Ireland, spent years living abroad, and yet every time I returned, it felt like I was coming home. Ireland had a way of welcoming you back, no matter how long you had been away. There was something about the land, the people, and the culture that made you feel rooted, as though you were part of something much larger than yourself. The beauty of Ireland was not just in its landscapes, but in its people and their stories. The Irish had a deep sense of pride in their heritage, in the struggles they had endured, and in the beauty they had preserved. They were a people who had faced adversity time and time again, and yet they had never lost their connection to the land. It was a connection that ran deep, through generations, and it was something that I could feel in my bones as I sat there on the train, watching the world pass by. The hills, the fields, the stone walls, they all spoke to me in ways that words could not. They reminded me of the Ireland I had grown up with, the Ireland I had left behind, and the Ireland I had returned to. There was a deep peace in that connection, a sense of belonging that I had not realized I had been missing until now. It was as if the land had been calling me back all these years, waiting for me to return and remember my roots. As we moved further into the heart of the country, the landscape began to change again. The mist thinned out, and the rain began to fall more lightly, almost as if it was giving way to something new. The hills became steeper, the fields narrower, and the stone walls more frequent. It felt as though we were entering a different part of Ireland, one that held its own secrets and stories. And yet, it was still the same land, the same country that had shaped me and so many others. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the sound of the train and the rain wash over me. I thought about how the landscape had changed over the centuries, how it had witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the coming and going of people, and yet it had remained unchanged. The stones, the fields, the rain, they had seen it all, and they would continue to see it long after we were gone. As the train continued to move forward, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for this moment, for this journey, and for the land that had shaped me. I was a part of Ireland, and Ireland was a part of me. The connection was timeless, and no matter where I went in the world, I would always carry a piece of it with me. The train began to slow, and I could see the outlines of a small village in the distance. The rain had stopped, and the sky had cleared enough to reveal the soft glow of the setting sun. It was the kind of scene that made you want to stop time and hold on to it forever. The land, the train, the people, they all came together in that moment, creating a perfect harmony that felt like home. As the train neared its destination, I realized that this journey had been more than just a trip across the Irish countryside. It had been a journey back to my roots, a journey to rediscover the connection I had with this land, with its people, and with its past. And in that moment, I knew that no matter where life took me, Ireland would always be there, waiting for me to return. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the ski was painted in hues of deep purple and orange, I found myself stepping aboard a train like no other I had ever seen. The long, sleek carriages of the El Tren de los Andes, Chile's most famous overnight train, stood poised on the platform, waiting to take its passengers on a journey through the heart of the country. The atmosphere was filled with an air of excitement and anticipation, the kind you only experience when you're about to embark on a great adventure. The train, with its rich mahogany paneling and intricate designs, stood out against the evening backdrop. A deep, comforting glow emanated from the windows, casting inviting light into the darkening station. I couldn't help but admire the craftsmanship of this magnificent locomotive. It was clear that this was no ordinary train. It was a blend of modern convenience and old-world luxury, offering not only a mode of transportation but a full experience, a true journey for the senses. As I stepped inside, I was immediately enveloped by the warm, earthy scent of polished wood and soft leather. The interior was a masterwork of Chilean artistry, with hand-woven rugs and antique lamps casting soft pools of light across the space. The seats were plush, upholstered in deep burgundy velvet that invited me to sink in and relax, while the walls were adorned with hand-painted murals depicting the rugged beauty of the Andes Mountains. The train's dining car was even more breathtaking, a place where luxury and comfort met Chilean culture in a harmonious dance. White linen tablecloths covered the tables, and crystal glasses sparkled under the golden glow of the vintage chandeliers. A soft, jazzy tune played from a piano in the corner, adding to the elegant ambiance. The staff, dressed in crisp uniforms, greeted each passenger with a warm smile and a welcome drink, making me feel as though I had stepped into another time, a time when travel was an event, not just a means of getting from one place to another. I made my way to my compartment, which was a cozy little haven nestled between two other cabins. The soft hum of the train as it started moving provided a gentle lull, but it was the sight that struck me the most. Through the large, spotless window, The breathtaking Chilean landscape stretched before me. As we rolled out of the station, the train's gentle sway took me farther from the bustling city of Santiago and into the tranquil expanse of Chile's countryside. Outside, the vineyards of the Central Valley stretched as far as the eye could see, their rows of grapevines lit by the soft glow of the last rays of sunlight. Inside my compartment, I was greeted by all the comforts one would expect from such a luxurious journey. The bed was inviting, draped in pristine white linens, with fluffy pillows arranged neatly at the head. A small side table sat next to the bed, with a brass lamp and a bottle of Chilean wine waiting for me to uncork it. The warmth of the cabin provided a sharp contrast to the cool night air outside. The rhythmic sound of the train on the tracks became a gentle heartbeat, soothing and steady, as the train started its journey toward the Atacama Desert. The train wasn't just a form of transportation, it was a journey unto itself. The smooth operation of the carriages, the elegant design, and the exceptional service all combined to make this experience something unique. The concept of luxury in travel was brought to life in the way the train catered to every need. As the train's engine hummed softly, I allowed myself to sink into the plush seat, the soft velvet embracing me as the landscapes outside began to change. The train passed through quiet towns and villages that appeared to be frozen in time. It was like being on a moving postcard, watching as the stars began to emerge in the night sky. I was on the way to the Atacama Desert, one of the driest places on Earth. But for now, the lush valleys of Chile were far from that stark desert. Instead, we were surrounded by rolling hills, scattered with the occasional small farm or humble adobe house, nestled between craggy cliffs and ancient trees. The train glided through it all with an elegance that was almost poetic, every movement purposeful and graceful. As the evening wore on and dinner was served, the dining car came alive with conversation. I had the pleasure of meeting fellow travelers from around the world, each of us drawn to Chile's charm in our own unique way. One woman, a photographer from London, spoke passionately about her work capturing the landscapes of South America. A retired couple from New York was traveling to celebrate their 40th wedding anniversary, their eyes twinkling as they recounted their life together. There was something about the setting, the shared experience of traveling in such luxury, that made it easy to connect with others. The sense of camaraderie, of being part of something extraordinary, lingered in the air like a fine fragrance. Dinner was a celebration of Chilean cuisine, and the meal itself was nothing short of extraordinary. The menu included everything from freshly caught salmon, accompanied by a tangy citrus sauce, to tender beef stewed in a rich, flavorful broth. For dessert, we were served mote con huesillos, a traditional Chilean dish made from peaches and husked wheat, a sweet and refreshing end to a memorable meal. The dining car became alive with the sounds of laughter, clinking glasses, and the soft murmur of voices. But through it all, I couldn't help but feel a sense of peace, as if this train, this journey, was a world unto itself. After dinner, the evening deepened, and I returned to my cabin to relax. The sounds of the train's movement became even more soothing in the quiet of the night. The gentle rocking of the train as it wound its way through the Chilean landscape along the tracks that have seen countless journeys was calming. It was as though the train, too, was settling in for a peaceful night. I closed the curtains to block out the dark night and pulled the blanket up around me, the warmth of the sheets wrapping me in comfort. Lying there in the stillness of the cabin, I thought about the magic of this experience. There was something deeply profound about being on this train, heading toward the vast desert in the distance. It wasn't just about the journey to a faraway place. It was about the sense of connection that came with it. The landscape, the people, the food, the sound of the train on the tracks, it all wove together to create something timeless. I was no longer just a passenger on a train. I was part of a much larger journey, one that had been taken by countless others in a train that had witnessed the passage of time. And just as the train continued its route, I too was being carried forward into an adventure that would. As the train moved deeper into the Chilean countryside, the atmosphere inside the El Tren de los Andes transformed from the quiet hum of the train to a lively and refined ambiance as it was time for dinner. The evening sky had turned a soft indigo, and the distant lights of small villages twinkled in the distance. The dining car, with its polished wooden floors and vintage chandeliers, had already begun to fill with passengers looking forward to a shared evening meal. The soft murmur of voices and the clink of glasses created an inviting sense of camaraderie, as we were all united by the same journey, even though each of us came from different corners of the world. The train had been a haven of solitude for the first leg of the trip, but now, in the dining car, the sense of community began to bloom. We were no longer strangers, but fellow travelers, each here for their own reason, yet all bound by the same desire to experience the magic of Chile from this unique vantage point. As the train's gentle rocking continued, we were escorted to our seats by the smiling, impeccably dressed waiters. Their polite nods and graceful movements made us feel as though we were stepping into a different world, a world of luxury and comfort, far removed from the ordinary. I found my place at a table for 4, seated next to a couple who were celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary. They were from New York, having traveled to South America to reconnect with the thrill of adventure after years of raising children. Their joy was contagious, and as we exchanged pleasantries, it felt as though time slowed down, allowing us to savor each moment of connection. Across from us sat a young photographer from London, her eyes bright with the passion of someone who had just discovered their purpose in life. She spoke with fervor about her work capturing the untouched beauty of Chile's landscapes, and the enthusiasm in her voice was contagious. The dinner began with a series of appetizers that tantalized the senses. The first dish, a vibrant green salad with fresh avocado, was served with a drizzle of lemon and olive oil. Each bite was a burst of freshness, a reminder of the land we were traveling through. Following that, we were treated to a deliciously smoky roasted salmon, its delicate flavors perfectly complemented by a zesty, citrusy sauce that added a refreshing kick. The chef, a man who had worked in some of the finest restaurants in Chile, took pride in each dish he served, and it was clear that every meal on this train was crafted with love and expertise. As we dined, the atmosphere in the dining car became even livelier. The train's gentle movement and the comforting sounds of laughter and conversation blended together in a harmonious symphony. The soft clinking of cutlery against fine china, the warm glow of candlelight on the tables, and the rhythmic hum of the train on the tracks created a sense of timelessness, as if we had all stepped into a memory, one that would stay with us forever. The wine flowed freely, a rich red Chilean Cabernet Sauvignon that perfectly paired with the tender lamb chops we were served next. The wine's deep flavor and smooth finish added to the sense of indulgence, as though we were all partaking in a feast that transcended mere sustenance. With each passing course, the conversation flowed effortlessly, and it felt as though we had known one another for years, not mere hours. There was something about the shared experience of traveling on this train, something about the intimacy of the space that made it easy to connect with strangers. We spoke about our travels, our families, our lives back home. And in those conversations, I began to realize that this was not just a meal. It was a celebration of life itself. It was a celebration of the journey we were all on. Not just the one that would take us to the Atacama Desert, but the one that had brought us to this moment, here, together on this magical train. The dessert was the perfect culmination of the evening. A rich, velvety chocolate mousse served with a hint of chili pepper that gave it a subtle, lingering heat. It was a fitting tribute to the land we were traveling through, a land known for its bold flavors and vibrant colors. The dessert was served alongside a glass of sweet Chilean dessert wine, a concoction that balanced the richness of the chocolate perfectly. As I savored each bite, I felt a sense of gratitude wash over me, not just for the food, but for the people around me, for the shared experience of being part of something so much larger than ourselves. After dessert, the conversation slowed down, but the sense of connection remained. We continued to talk, but now it was quieter, more reflective. The rain, which had begun to fall lightly during dinner, was now a steady drizzle, adding a soothing backdrop to the conversation. The soft sound of the raindrops against the windows blended with the distant hum of the train, creating a peaceful atmosphere that allowed us all to settle into the warmth and coziness of the dining car. As the evening came to a close, I felt a sense of contentment that can only come from sharing a meal in such a beautiful setting. The train continued its journey through the Chilean countryside, the gentle rocking of the carriages lulling us all into a state of peaceful relaxation. We had shared stories, laughter, and a meal that nourished not just our bodies but our souls. In the moments that followed, as we made our way back to our cabins, I couldn't help but reflect on how this evening had been more than just a dinner on a train. It had been a reminder of the importance of the connection, of sharing moments with others, and of savoring life's simple pleasures. The Orient Express was a name that carried with it a sense of mystery, elegance, and adventure. It wasn't just a train. It was a symbol of luxury and history, a route that crossed the heart of Europe, connecting cities with stories that spanned centuries. As I stood on the platform in Paris, the iconic Gare de l'Est station, I couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. The train was magnificent, its sleek exterior gleaming in the afternoon sun, its rich, deep burgundy color contrasting beautifully with the cool blues of the evening sky. It seemed to hum with the promise of far-off destinations, timeless beauty, and unforgettable moments. This was not just any journey. This was the start of something extraordinary. The buzz of excitement around me was palpable as fellow passengers made their way onto the platform, each of them eager for their own adventure aboard this legendary train. Some were seasoned travelers. Others were new to the experience, but all of us shared one common feeling. We were on the brink of something truly special. There was an almost ceremonial air to the way the train was prepared, with staff in pristine uniforms carefully checking every detail, ensuring that every inch of the train was immaculate, every service flawless. As I walked toward the entrance of the train, I couldn't help but be struck by the grandeur of the carriages. Each one was a work of art, with gleaming polished wood, intricate brass fixtures, and plush velvet seating that promised comfort like no other. The golden accents and the soft, dim lighting created an atmosphere of refined opulence. It was as though the train itself had a personality, one that exuded sophistication and grace. I stepped aboard, and immediately the hustle and bustle of the station faded away. The air inside was cool and fragrant, a mixture of old leather, polished wood, and the faint scent of fresh flowers. It was a comforting, almost magical feeling, like stepping into another era. I was greeted by the conductor, a tall man with a friendly but professional demeanor, his deep voice reassuring as he handed me a small, elegant envelope. Inside was my ticket, embossed with gold letters that read Orient Express, the words shimmering in the light. It was a moment that felt like a dream. How many people could say they had traveled on this train? I could already sense the weight of history around me, each stop along the route an opportunity to connect with stories from the past. As I moved through the train, I was struck by the attention to detail that seemed to infuse every corner. The dining cars were a particular highlight, with white linen tablecloths and delicate china setting a tone of refined indulgence. Soft, classical music played in the background, adding to the sense of luxury, and I could already imagine the wonderful meals that awaited me. Every inch of the Orient Express had been designed to offer its passengers a journey through time and culture, a way of traveling that was, in itself, an experience to be savored. I found my cabin, a small but elegant room with a large window that looked out over the streets of Paris, which were quickly fading into the distance. The bed was neatly made, the linens soft, and a small, well-stocked bar sat invitingly on a polished wooden table. It was an intimate space, one that promised rest and relaxation after a long day of travel. Yet it was also an invitation to explore. The walls were adorned with vintage paintings that depicted the destinations we would pass along the way: Venice, Istanbul, and beyond. Each image adding to the allure of the journey. As I settled into my cabin, a sense of peace washed over me. There was something inherently soothing about the train's gentle sway, the soft click of the wheels on the tracks, and the steady rhythm that accompanied every turn. The moment felt timeless, as if I had stepped into a scene from a classic novel, a place where the past and present existed side by side. In the distance, I could hear the soft call of the conductor, signaling the final boarding call, and I knew that soon we would be on our way. The train started to move slowly, gradually picking up speed as it left the station and began its journey through the heart of Paris. The city's famous landmarks, the Eiffel Tower, the Seine River, faded into the background as we passed. But it wasn't long before the train began its trek toward the French countryside, the landscape unfolding before me like a beautiful painting. Looking out of the window, I watched as the flat, industrial outskirts of Paris gave way to the rolling hills and vineyards of the French countryside. The golden fields stretched out before us, with the occasional village dotting the horizon. There was something serene about the way the landscape passed by, as though the world had slowed down to match the pace of the Orient Express. It felt like I was moving through a dream, and I had to pinch myself to remind myself that this was real, that I was truly aboard this legendary train. The ride was smooth, and as the train moved through the countryside, I began to relax into the rhythm of the journey. The gentle rocking of the carriage was soothing, lulling me into a state of contentment. I leaned back against the plush cushions, feeling the soft hum of the train beneath me, and let my mind wander. There was something comforting about the idea that I was traveling in the footsteps of so many before me. World travelers, celebrities, diplomats, and adventurers who had all taken this same route, each seeking their own adventure, their own stories. As the hours passed, the sun began to set, casting a warm, golden glow over the fields. The sky turned a rich shade of amber, the colors deepening as night began to fall. I stood up and made my way to the observation car, eager to get a closer look at the world outside. The open space of the car offered an unobstructed view of the landscape, and I felt an incredible sense of freedom as I stood there, watching the world slip by. The rhythmic sound of the train's wheels on the tracks was a comforting constant, and I could feel myself becoming more and more immersed in the magic of the journey. The sensation of traveling through the heart of Europe on such a historic train was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It wasn't just about getting from one place to another. It was about savoring the experience of traveling itself. The journey felt like an exploration of time, as if each moment was a step back into history. The Orient Express wasn't just a train, it was a journey through memory, culture, and the human spirit. As I returned to my cabin, I felt a sense of anticipation for what the next day would bring. There was something uniquely special about traveling on the Orient Express, something that transcended the ordinary. It wasn't just a train ride. It was an experience that made you feel connected to something larger than yourself. I lay down on my bed, the soft linens surrounding me, and closed my eyes, letting the gentle swaying of the train lull me into a deep and peaceful sleep. As the Orient Express rumbled on, leaving Paris far behind, I found myself immersed in the serenity of the French countryside. The train, with its timeless elegance and rhythmic motion, seemed to be carrying me through more than just miles of land. It was taking me through the very essence of France, unfolding a tapestry of landscapes, cultures, and memories. With each passing mile, I could feel the weight of history surrounding me. The train passing through villages and vineyards that had seen centuries of change. Looking out the window, I saw the first traces of the French countryside. The flat, industrial outskirts of Paris quickly gave way to the gently rolling hills of the Île-de-France region. The sun, which had been hidden behind clouds for most of the day, began to break through in patches, casting soft golden light across the fields. The landscape was dotted with quaint villages, their houses with terracotta rooftops nestled among fields of green, golden crops and winding streams. It was the kind of view that made you stop and take a breath, reminding you of the beauty of the world outside and the preciousness of time. The Orient Express glided through the countryside with a grace that seemed to match the elegance of its surroundings. The train was so smooth, so steady, that it felt like a seamless extension of the land itself. I settled into the comfortable armchair in my cabin, looking out the window as the countryside unfolded. The deep green of the vineyards, the yellow and amber fields stretching as far as the eye could see, and the soft, purple hues of the lavender fields began to blur together, painting a picture of rural France at its most idyllic. The further we traveled, the more I felt myself letting go of the world I had left behind. There was something about the train's steady progress that was deeply comforting, like a promise that no matter where I was headed, I was moving forward. The train was a world unto itself, and inside it, there was a sense of timelessness that enveloped everyone aboard. I could feel the other passengers, their quiet conversations and murmurs of excitement as we moved deeper into the French countryside. It was as if we were all in this shared experience together, each of us on a journey of discovery, whether we were travelers, writers, diplomats, or tourists. The pace of the train was leisurely, and as we passed through the countryside, I allowed my thoughts to wander. I thought about the many people who had traveled on this very train before me, from kings and queens to famous writers and explorers. The Orient Express wasn't just a mode of transportation. It was a symbol of an era gone by, a reminder of a time when travel was a luxurious and refined experience, not just a way to get from one place to another. This train, I realized, was a vessel of stories, a bridge between the past and the present. And now, as a part of that journey, I was a living witness to the stories it held. The sun continued to set, casting a warm glow across the fields and hills. The golden light was so soft, it almost felt as though it was not of this world. It illuminated the rooftops of the villages we passed, making everything look like a painting. A scene so beautiful and peaceful that it seemed to be frozen in time. I could hear the soft clink of china as the staff prepared for the evening meal in the dining car, the faint murmur of conversation mixing with the soft hum of the train. I decided to leave my cabin and take a walk through the train. The dining car was where the magic of the Orient Express truly came alive. The atmosphere was intimate and refined, the tables draped in white linens, the gleaming silverware glinting under the warm, soft lighting. The chatter of fellow passengers blended with the gentle strains of classical music playing in the background, adding to the sense of sophistication. As I walked down the corridor, I caught glimpses of the other cars, each one as luxurious and beautiful as the next. I was drawn to the observation car, where the panoramic windows provided an unobstructed view of the French countryside. The glass was cool to the touch as I leaned against it, watching the landscape glide by. The sky had deepened into a dusky purple, and the first stars began to appear, their pinpricks of light scattered across the darkening heavens. The train's lights were reflected on the surface of the fields, casting long shadows across the ground. Standing there, looking out at the countryside, I couldn't help but feel a profound sense of connection. Not just to the land I was passing through, but to the entire world. There was something timeless about the Orient Express, something that made you feel part of a larger story, a story that spanned centuries and connected generations of travelers who had made this same journey before me. It was a rare feeling, one that made the journey feel almost sacred. This train was a relic of a bygone era, a living testament to a time when travel was not just a means to an end, but an experience to be cherished. As the night deepened, I returned to my cabin. I sat by the window, the soft, rhythmic sound of the train's wheels on the tracks serving as a gentle lullaby. The night had fully settled in, and the world outside seemed distant, like a memory. The lights of the train cast long shadows in the compartment, and I settled into the plush armchair, feeling the comfort of the train envelope me once again. I closed my eyes for a moment, taking in the sounds of the train and the quiet hum of life aboard. In that moment, I realized that this journey wasn't just about the places I would visit. It was about the connection I felt to this moment, to the history of the Orient Express, and to the stories that were unfolding all around me. It was about the peace and solitude I had found in the midst of a world that was always rushing forward. On the Orient Express, time seemed to slow down, and for once, I felt free to simply be. I opened my eyes and looked out at the landscape once more, the fields stretching out before me, illuminated by the soft glow of the train's lights. It was a scene so beautiful, so serene, that it almost seemed unreal. The further we traveled, the more I felt myself being carried away by the magic of the train, the rhythm of the journey, and the timelessness of the experience. This was a journey that would stay with me long after the final destination was reached, a journey that had already become a part of my own story. The heat hit me as soon as I stepped off the plane at Mumbai's Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj International Airport. It wasn't just the temperature. It was the overwhelming rush of energy that filled the air, a pulsating hum of life that seemed to vibrate through every inch of the city. Mumbai, India's sprawling metropolis, had a pulse of its own, and I could already feel it thrumming deep in my chest. This wasn't a place for the faint of heart. It was a city that lived and breathed with a vibrancy that was intoxicating. I had come to India with a sense of excitement mixed with a healthy dose of apprehension. It was my first time in the country, and the thought of experiencing it through the lens of its famous train journeys thrilled me to no end. The stories I had heard about Indian trains, how they connected the vast stretches of this incredible land, linking remote villages to bustling cities, had always fascinated me. But it was the promise of adventure, of discovering a place that was so rich in history and culture that truly called me here. Stepping outside the terminal, I was greeted by the sweltering air, which felt almost sticky against my skin. It was late afternoon, the sun hanging low in the sky, casting a golden light over the city. The streets of Mumbai were already alive with movement, rickshaws weaving between honking cars, pedestrians crossing the roads with practiced nonchalance, and vendors shouting over the din to sell their wares. The smells were a sensory overload. The earthy fragrance of spices, the sweet, pungent scent of street food frying, and the occasional waft of incense from a nearby temple. It was a cacophony of sights, sounds, and smells that I couldn't quite process. Yet it felt strangely exhilarating. My taxi ride to the Mumbai Central Railway Station was a blur of colors and noise. I watched as the city unfolded around me, each corner offering something new to marvel at. The architecture, a mix of colonial-era buildings and modern glass towers, spoke to India's rich history and its rapid strides into the future. I couldn't help but feel both awe and wonder at the scale of it all. Mumbai, a city where dreams were made and often shattered, where people from all over the country and the world came to seek something greater. When I finally arrived at Mumbai Central, the station was alive with a palpable energy. The hustle and bustle of travelers, the clanging of train bells, and the continuous stream of announcements echoing through the station created a rhythm that felt familiar, almost comforting. Despite the heat, there was an excitement that filled the air, an anticipation of the journey ahead. As I entered the station, I was immediately struck by the sheer scale of it. Mumbai Central was a vast, sprawling place, with a mix of old-world charm and modernity. The long platforms stretched as far as the eye could see, lined with trains that seemed to stretch for miles. It was a world of its own. A world that seemed to exist in constant motion. the trains, each one carrying hundreds of passengers, were not just vehicles, they were lifelines, connecting people to their homes, their families, and their dreams. I made my way through the station, the sounds of announcements and chatter buzzing around me, my heart racing with excitement. I had purchased a ticket for the second-class sleeper car, the one that would carry me from Mumbai to Goa. It was a journey I had been eagerly anticipating, one that would take me through some of the most beautiful landscapes in India. I had heard about the experience of traveling by train in India, the sense of camaraderie, the shared moments with fellow passengers, and the sense of community that existed within the train's confines. It was a world where time seemed to slow down, where the journey itself was as important as the destination. When the time came to board, I felt a wave of anticipation wash over me. The train was older than I had expected, a bit more worn, but it had a charm to it. The metal body of the train gleamed in the late afternoon sun, its faded paint telling stories of countless journeys taken over the years. The conductor, a friendly man with a warm smile, ushered me onto the train, pointing me to my compartment. I walked down the narrow corridor, the sounds of clinking metal and murmurs of conversation filling the air. As I reached my compartment, I was struck by how simple yet functional it was. The wooden berths were lined up against the walls, and a small fan overhead hummed gently, offering some relief from the oppressive heat. There was a sense of intimacy to the space. This would be my home for the next 12 hours. I could already feel the camaraderie of the other passengers, their eyes meeting mine with a quiet understanding. I settled into my berth, taking in the surroundings. The room smelled faintly of dust and old wood, a scent that immediately made me feel both grounded and connected to the history of this train. I took out my journal and began to write, capturing my first impressions of the journey, the city, and the train itself. There was something deeply reflective about sitting on an Indian train, knowing that I was about to experience a side of the country that few tourists ever did. As the train slowly pulled out of the station, I watched Mumbai fade into the distance. The buildings became smaller, the streets less crowded, and the sky began to take on a soft, dusky hue. I knew that as I journeyed south toward Goa, I would witness the changing landscapes of India, the bustling cities giving way to the rolling hills and lush green fields, the vibrant markets replaced by the peaceful serenity of rural life. It was a transformation that had fascinated me about India, a country so vast and diverse, with landscapes as varied as its culture and people. The rhythmic sound of the train's wheels on the tracks created a soothing backdrop to my thoughts. I leaned back in my berth, letting the gentle motion of the train rock me into a sense of calm. As the landscape outside began to blur, I felt a quiet sense of connection to this place, to the country, and to the journey ahead. In this moment, I knew that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. As the train chugged away from the bustling streets of Mumbai, I felt a sense of freedom wash over me. The city, with its relentless energy, faded into the distance as the countryside began to unfold in front of me. It was as though the train itself was a vessel transporting me to a different world, one where time seemed to slow down, and the frenetic pace of urban life gave way to something slower, more tranquil. The landscape outside my window was a patchwork of lush, green fields dotted with palm trees, small villages, and the occasional towering mountain in the distance. The sun was beginning to set, casting a soft, golden light across the countryside. The light shimmered on the rice paddies, creating a surreal, almost magical effect that made everything look bathed in an ethereal glow. It felt like something out of a painting, peaceful, serene, and timeless. The train moved steadily along, its rhythmic clatter and the occasional whistle of the conductor forming a soothing soundtrack to the journey. I watched as the scenery slowly shifted from the industrial edges of Mumbai to the rolling hills and tranquil farmlands of Maharashtra. The houses here were simple, often made of clay or thatched roofs, and the people went about their business with quiet dignity. Farmers worked in the fields, their clothes vibrant against the backdrop of green, while children played in the dirt roads, their laughter carried on the wind. As the train continued southward, the landscape began to change. The flat plains gave way to hilly terrain, and the vegetation grew denser, the trees taller, the air cooler. We passed through small villages, each one with its own character. In some, brightly colored temples dotted the landscape, their spires reaching toward the heavens. In others, the roads were lined with stalls selling vibrant fabrics and fresh produce, while the aroma of spices and street food wafted through the open windows of the train, making my stomach growl in anticipation. The people I saw were a testament to the diversity of Nia itself. I could see the influence of different cultures and histories in their clothing, in the way they carried themselves, and in their interactions. In one village, I watched a group of women in brightly colored saris walk to the well to fetch water, their laughter light and carefree. In another, a group of farmers in simple white dhotis worked together, tilling the land with careful precision. There was a sense of community in everything they did, a shared understanding that life, no matter how hard, was meant to be lived together. As I watched these scenes unfold, I couldn't help but think about the history of this land. India's countryside, with its patches of fertile soil and vast stretches of wilderness, had been the heart of the country for centuries. It was here that the earliest civilizations had flourished, and it was here that the pulse of the nation still beat strongest. The train journey felt like a bridge between the past and the present, a link between the India of today and the India of ancient times. The land was timeless, and yet it was also full of life, full of the future. The evening sky gradually deepened into twilight, and I noticed the change in the atmosphere. The sun, now a glowing orange disk, sank lower into the horizon, casting long shadows across the land. The temperature dropped, and the cool breeze from the open window was a welcome relief from the heat of the day. The sound of the train wheels on the tracks became more pronounced, a constant rhythm that seemed to sync with the beat of my own heart. I leaned back in my seat, letting the peacefulness of the journey wash over me. I was surrounded by fellow travelers, some strangers, some fellow wanderers who shared this experience with me, but it felt as though we were all bound by the same shared moment. The train car was quiet, with the occasional murmur of conversation or the rustle of a newspaper. Everyone seemed to be lost in their own thoughts, gazing out of the windows at the passing countryside or reading a book. Yet there was a sense of camaraderie in the silence, a sense that we were all moving together towards something unknown, something magical. As the train wound its way deeper into the Indian countryside, the landscape became even more stunning. The fields gave way to dense jungles, and the jungles, in turn, morphed into towering mountains. The colors outside were vibrant: the deep green of the trees, the rich brown of the earth, the bright yellows and reds of the occasional flowering plant. I saw the occasional herd of cows grazing in the fields, their long horns curving majestically against the backdrop of the mountains. The sight of them made me feel as though I had stepped into another time, a time when life moved at a much slower pace, when the land itself held a kind of sacred reverence. As night began to fall, the lights inside the train flickered on, casting a soft glow over the passengers. It was a subtle reminder that the world outside was now dark, and the journey was slowly coming to an end for the day. The scenery outside was no longer visible, but the sounds of the train and the gentle rocking of the compartment created a sense of peace. The day's journey had come to an end, but I knew that the night would hold its own adventures, its own quiet revelations. I decided to head to the dining car for some dinner. The train was known for its hospitality, and I was eager to sample the food. As I made my way through the train, the smell of freshly cooked meals wafted toward me, and my stomach grumbled in response. I passed by fellow travelers, some engrossed in conversation, others lost in their own thoughts. But everyone seemed to share that same peaceful aura, the feeling that the journey had become something bigger than the destination. It was about the experience, about the people we met along the way, and about the land that stretched out before us, rich with history, culture, and life. As I sat down in the dining car, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the beauty of India, for the kindness of its people, and for the opportunity to experience it all from the comfort of this beautiful train. I couldn't help but smile, knowing that this was a moment I would remember for the rest of my life. The journey was far from over, and yet already it felt as though I had crossed into a new world, one that was rich in experiences, memories, and connections.